in a way that incorporates the voices of many people and allows transparency in the process of development. What we risk if we don't have a process that incorporates more voices from the community is the development of communities that reflect narrow interests, often of people who don't even live here. And I think this is a big risk because once these developments are here, we all have to live with them, and we don't have the opportunity to do any of it over, so we really need to do it right. So I encourage you to take the opportunity, even as Tamoy says, if it does require amending the charter, to open up this process to more voices, more input from the community, and more accountability from elected representatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call your next testifier.
Next testifier is Mr. Osan to comment on Communication 229. Go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Basically, I want to reinforce and echo the comments of the previous speaker, and to say that every community has opportunities to plan its development. And if the plan is constantly being amended, you end up with an unplanned community, even though you have a plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call your next testifier.
Next testifier is Mary Kay to speak on Bill 291 as well as 59.
Good morning. My name is Mary Kay McInnes, and I reside in Kona Orchard Subdivision. The current PUD approval process needs to be reconstructed to allow for better opportunities for the public, the county council, the planning committee, the planning director, the developers, and all those involved to participate and to be heard in matters that affect our communities. I don't care what number you assign the bill or who authors it, the current PUD approval process is autocratic and archaic. The approval process of a PUD needs to be transferred to an elected body, such as the county council, a body which is accountable to the citizens and to the taxpayers, and to the citizens and taxpayers of the county, a body which is charged to represent each citizen fairly and without bias, not an individual solely accountable to someone who appoints him. The following is a true story, a sad story illustrating the glaring lack of transparency under the current PUD approval process. Tax map key 7-5017042. This was acreage of 14.437 acres. The rezoning amendment bill number 163. This was rezoned from A5 to RS10. It was approved on February 3rd, 2010. The PUD was approved at 4/29/2011 with 15 of 17 requested variances. The number of tax-paying citizens present at the PUD approval meeting was 0. And why? Because there was no meeting for the public to attend, no opportunity to voice our concerns or ask a question. There was no public meeting for the citizens to attend so that we would be informed about the development that would surely impact our neighborhood that we live in. And we as citizens have the right to know. 53 lots were approved. 12 of the lots were 10,000 square foot as per the zoning. 41 of the lots were 10,000 square feet or less, which were 77%. 10 of those lots were 7,000 square feet. Now, I have asked this question before, and I will ask it again now. How would the number of lots approved determined in this PUD approval and other PUD cases? I am unable to find the answer in the zoning ordinance. I'm unable to get an answer from county personnel, and the last time I asked the planning commission, I got an answer about topography and equality. And my question is not about topography. It's about transparency and public trust. So I ask you to please consider this when you consider the PUD approval process. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no, please, no applauses, no boos. Yeah, we try to refrain from applauding or boos or really anything in that relation. Thank you. Please call your next testifier.
Next testifier is Linda Horgan to speak on Bill 291. Go ahead, Linda.
Aloha, my name is Linda Horgan. I live in Hualalai Colony, a development close to an area proposed for a PUD, which is being discussed by the Planning Commission later this week. My husband and I strongly feel that Bill 291 provides the best opportunity for neighbors and concerned citizens to get the facts on what is being proposed in new PUDs and express concern as people who may be most affected by their approval, and feel that Bill 291 provides more transparency than Bill 59. I also want to say that it's important to proceed in light of the intent of the Kona Community Development Plan as regards population density and preservations of watersheds, native bird, plant, and wildlife corridors, and other natural resources of the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call your next testifier.
Next testifier is Paul Kaminsky, speaking on Bill 291. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. What you've heard so far is that this issue is transparency. What happens in our community, who makes the decisions as to what is being built, how large the lot sizes are, etc. Bill 291 was gutted. And all of a sudden you have Bill 59, which is a washed-down version. It sets up these community meetings which mean nothing. I am here in support of 291, not in support of 59. You have to have transparency. We in Kona feel that decisions are being made that affect us directly. I live a quarter of a mile away from the subdivision that was mentioned earlier, that was subdivided, and it does not please me that I'm going to have to deal with the traffic from 55 or 50 new homes. All of a sudden it was snuck under the wire, and that's how I feel. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you. Please call your next testifier.
Winfield? Next testifier is Winfield Chang to oppose.
The confirmation of Director of Environmental Management. Aloha kakahiaka, my name is Winfield.
Excuse me, that's not today, that's actually tomorrow.
Yeah, this is planning.
What's tomorrow? Okay, I'll bring it back. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, next testifier is Roya Sabri to support of Bill 59.
Hello. I think that the intentions of the PUD process that have been that are written in the purpose in Bill 59, they're good intentions, but they can be taken negatively, and if there's enough transparency in the process. So there needs to be participation included in the process of creating these developments, and I think that Bill 59, with inclusion of public meetings and inclusion of the comments from these public meetings in the creation of the development and in amending the development, will be good for creating these PUDs, which may not necessarily, which may have variances differing from the regulations, the zoning regulations, and yeah, so I think that I'm in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call your next testifier.
Okay. Bill? Next testifier is Isabel Simona Louis Konohiki Comment on Bill 291 and 59?
Aloha kia kua. Thank you for giving us guys the opportunity to speak and all those that may come and speak against this bill. I oppose all of this. First of all, we need to talk to you about these lands that are going to be developed. I want to discuss the process and the rezoning of the Mahele lands and the discrimination against the Kanaka in the process. In the zoning of the land is under allodial land titles and the Mahele lands, and the Kanaka is left out from process and are denied of their rights from the mountain to the sea. The lands are our Kuleana. You guys know about the overthrow and the apology bill and against the treaty against our queen and against our nation. These lands are all protected. How come the Kupunas are not invited to be in the process of these lands? We are the beneficiaries of these lands. There are still many living heirs. The lands are underneath the Mahele and underneath the allodial title. These lands and royal pattern lands are Kuleana lands, are subject to the rights of the native tenants. What about the rights of the native tenants and the heirs inside of these lands? Where are the maps of all these lands that are planned? These units that you guys gonna do? These lands are commission awards from the Mahele titles. They are all good. As long as you have the kuko, you can claim your family land underneath the undivided inches. For the developers, these lands are cloudy. They are cloudy. The cloudy title over this land. The courts have no jurisdiction over the grant for giving grand land titles. Are there any of these lands are underneath the collar, underneath the ceded lands inventory? The newspaper talk about the accountability of the public hearing. What about the lack of accountability to the laws and obligation and the treaties that we guys have and with the Hawaiian Kingdom? They still exist to today. The heirs in the family and the ohana are left out of this whole procedure. Considering the difficulty of the Kanaka and the native tenants, how can the PUC lands be included? And not the Kanaka and not the Kupuna people and the heirs. I oppose this bill. Because you guys don't have no jurisdiction over the lands and set aside by the Mahele. These are Hawaiian lands and it's not for sale to any developer or anybody. We want more. We want to plant Hawaiian food, our native foods over here. We don't want no GMO on our lands or food poison or anything or Roundup on the top of these lands. The planning committee and the housing area should get things for the Hawaiian people, for the senior citizen. None of these things are talked about. All the lands that you guys talking about, you guys gonna change it from one land to another zone to ag? And you guys talk about this thing that they call 1,000 feet, in case there's no one aware. I just heard someone read about, suppose if there ain't no one there, and you guys gonna make decisions, and you guys never included the kupunas or even the people that stay over here. So, again, I against all of this, and I will oppose this. Thank you very much. Aloha. Thank you.
Could you please call your next testifier? And Scott, you are timing, correct?
That is correct, yeah. Yeah, he was on 2 items there.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Okay, next testifier, our last one today is Cyrus Sabri. Okay, to speak on, oppose on Bill 59, thank you.
I'm very glad that I have an opportunity to talk here today. My name is Cyrus Sabri. I'm a professor of urban design and a concerned resident of Kona Orchards. We should be so glad to see so many concerned citizens gather around here, and they are really worried about what's happening. And in planning today, we have public participation as a basic element of any planning, but we are usually blindsided by the decisions the planning department makes in our area. I question that if there was an environmental impact study done, or if it was done, what's the result? I mean, because an agricultural land, the rezoning to residential with a subdivision with so many units. I really question that, and I wish and I hope you reconsider your past decisions. Thank you.
Chair, we do have one more testifier.
Okay, we'll go ahead with that, and we do have a testifier here in Hilo as well. So we'll finish in Kona, and then we'll come here to Hilo.
Our last testifier is Mac McGinnis to comment on Bill 291 as well as 59. Go ahead.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to speak in favor of Bill number 291 or Bill 59 or any bill that is passed as long as it moves the approval of a PUD from the planning director to the county council at a public meeting, or you can leave it with the planning director and have a public meeting where the planning director approves in front of the public or disapproves or modifies the PUD. This is the only way for the citizens to be assured the transparency they are entitled to is put in place. The neighborhood meeting referenced in Bill 59 does not add any transparency to the PUD approval process. It's a meeting. It's not an approval. If any of you feel a neighborhood meeting actually gives transparency to the PUD approval process, I would appreciate you explaining it to me. There's nothing wrong with a PUD. It is the current PUD approval process that the citizens object to. It is a flawed process. It is out of date. It is unregimented. There is no required structure of submitting engineered drawings that are significant to the development and which may be viewed before the fact rather than after the fact. It's approved out of sight of the public. It's controlled by one individual that is appointed, not elected. There is no transparency and no accountability for the individual giving approval to the PUD. Excuse me. I don't know how else to say transparency is the issue, and this is only going to get accomplished in an open forum, not behind closed doors. West Hawaii Today, Thursday, May 16, 2013, headline, Council calls for election expenses audit. One of our councilmen said, quote, I think it's important for the public to know what's going on, end quote. Another councilman said, if we're going to do it, we should do it right, end quote. Should this not also apply to the PUD process? You all have a decision to make. Please do it right. Mahalo.
Thank you. Please hold your applause. Thank you. On Bill 291 and 59, and I would ask that whatever one you want to start on, just let me know if you're going to comment on 291 first or 59, and then we'll transition to the next one.
Okay, it's about the PUDs, period, yeah, just on both of them. So, good morning, Council. Thank you for the opportunity. I lived in Vegas, Las Vegas, about 10 years ago when it was really a boom town. I mean, they were throwing up houses every 30 days. And the houses are still there. But I would simply caution you that slow growth, although slow growth with the PUD application, I would like to see, if it could involve affordable housing. We definitely need more affordable housing, and transparency is always good, no matter where and what. Transparency, you know, you hear a lot of yappity-yapping about it from politicians, and it falls through the cracks. And I want to thank the previous testifiers, too. They've been very, very good about their proposals. But affordable housing, transparency, and I don't want to say slow growth, but appropriate growth, maybe, for housing. The processing, the constipation no, that's part of it. That's not it, though. The construction process on housing in Hawaii is severely constipated, so it's not going to. You don't really need any slow growth. That takes care of it all by itself. But just be very aware of these things. Be very aware of what the public is asking for, the transparency, and you'll do good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to testify at any of the locations? Please let me know. Okay, seeing none, public testimony is now closed. We'll move on to referrals.